Hi, and welcome back to the Mr. Brad Worden Show. And tonight we're going to have a little talk. Let's talk about the birds and the bees. Oh, no, that's the wrong talk. I don't mean that talk. Actually...
I mean, it is spring, but no.
And the bunnies and all that stuff. No. We don't want to get into that. This is a family-friendly show, of course. Yes. Okay, my camera person is giving me crazy weird looks. Sorry. So anyway, today is the anniversary, exactly 2 years of when the newer version, I should say, of the Mr. Brad Worden Show started. The new Mr. Brad Worden Show. Originally, there was a Mr. Brad Worden Show back like close to 14 years ago. Just the entertainment one, and you can still find that one on YouTube too. But let's get into the 2 years. So I just want to give like a recap of just some history of me in the business and the Chili Head business, of course, and me going forward in the Chili Head account and business and what have you. So anyway, let's go way back to the past, because a few of my friends in the Chili Head community, I've recently heard their stories, and over the time I've given bits and pieces of like where I started out and what I liked as far as like spicy stuff, hot and spicy. So I was surprised to hear that some chili heads in the community just randomly started and they hadn't been eating hot and spicy their whole lives, but I guess each person has a different start to it. So let's just go back, because my history is very, very long. As a little kid, I loved eating hot and spicy stuff, even as a kid. I mean, people can account for this. My camera person wife, who's known me a long time, my parents, my relatives, they can account for this. I was like a little chili head. I was always looking for the hottest stuff to eat. And there wasn't a lot back then in the ancient time of the 1980s. There really just wasn't a lot of stuff back then. And I'm getting pretty old now. But I would find like any candies, Red Hots, Atomic Fireballs, any kind of spicy chips. One of my favorite was handicap hot fries back then. I would always pour tons of chili powder in my chili. I always find like hot sauce that I could find, which there wasn't quite as much back then, poured on my tacos and whatever. And I kept doing that for a long time. And then when it started getting hotter, I kept staying into that too. Funny story too. I got a few small stories. I don't want to take up too much time. So when I was probably like a young teenager, junior high age, I would eat some jalapenos, and those were pretty hot for me back then too. But I would like eat the slices and whatever. And some of my uncles, being the oldest grandkids, some of my uncles, my grandparents had this garden, and they were growing some jalapenos, and they grew some habaneros one year, and they're like, hey, have this. It's like one of the hottest peppers. And thinking to myself, I eat hot all the time. I can handle this. And I took a big chomp out of this habanero. And like back then, went into panic mode. Most of burning, start rubbing everything, get it in my eyes. That's my first experience with heat in my eyes too. But I was like freaking out, panic mode. Ran my face under the faucet for probably like 10 minutes straight. So that was experience even back then when I was a little kid. And then just growing up, I continued just eating whatever I could find and hot stuff to the point that when they started to get hotter hot sauces, I had to get them. So I was getting like one of my favorites were Blair's, like the death sauce and that, and I would always pour that on my tacos and stuff. And like when the ghost pepper came out, I don't know if my wife remembered this, I had to get it. So I went like online and had to like order some. So I found some ghost peppers because that was like the new hottest at the time. Mm-hmm. And I ordered them, and I got them in my house because I wanted to eat them and put them in stuff, and I wanted to harvest the seeds to try and grow some.
I do remember that.
Well, the planting was like a flop. And by the time the pods got to me, half of them were like in pretty rough shape. So I was able to salvage some. I cut them up, dried some, used some of the fresh ones, and like I think a chili and some other food. So I was able to use those for a while. And then of course when the scorpion came out, I had to get my hands on some of that and Reaper and all that.
Nice to make General Tso's chicken for you. Remember, and I used to
throw some of that in there sometimes.
Yeah, well, you liked it really hot, and I liked one time I couldn't even eat the meal because it was so hot.
Yeah, so I mean, I've always like on spicy food. For me, too, it's like once a chili head, always a chili head. So I'll get to that in a little bit. But like even there's some other funny stories. So like when my daughter, Awesome Sauce, was young, I had some of that death sauce and I was putting it on tacos.
Was it really called death sauce?
Yeah, it was Blair's death sauce, and I love that one. And Awesome Sauce was like little, like 2 or 3, and she's like poking at it, and we're like, Cam person and I was like, don't do it. And then, you know, one of those kids like, hee. An immediate regret. Immediate went from to and crying, and we got her milk. It was a drop, so it wouldn't damage her, obviously. But that woke her up and invited her into the chili head community, which she's currently practicing on being too. And then another funny story. So, like, league charts, I've pretty much done mostly all the Pocky chips, too. I just haven't had my hands on them or knew about the League of Fire or whatever in time. So, the first time I ever got a Pocky chip, it was from one of my brother-in-laws for Christmas gift. And he gave me the Pocky One Chip Challenge. And I knew it was a challenge, but I had no idea how to eat it. So, when I opened it up... Are you having problems, Cameron?
Sorry, I'm getting over a cold, and I'm like...
Do you need some relief?
No, I'll try to get through it.
Okay.
Sorry,
so
people.
I'll try and hustle through, because I just hear... Okay, sorry. Anyway,
sorry.
So the first time I got the Pocky One Chip Challenge, I was eating it casually. Like, I wasn't, like, chomping it down. I, like, took a few bites. I'm like, this is really hot. This is actually pretty hot, one of the hotter things I've had. Took a few more bites. Like, yeah, this is not good, because it tastes like charcoal back then, but it's good heat. So then instead of finishing it all, I'm like, I'll save some of this for later. So I put it back in the package, put it away, and then when I got home later, because we were going to get going pretty soon, I popped the rest out and just snacked on it and ate the rest later. So most people wouldn't do that.
Most people would not snack on those. You realize later, like, that was not a snackable chip.
And then I realized a few years later, like, when I got more into it, that it's actually, like, a challenge and meant to be eaten all at once and quickly, but... That was my first experience with that.
You did say you were wondering why the chip tasted so charcoaly and weird.
Yeah, it's true. So getting back into the show progression into the show. So 2020, everybody knows the whole world was shut down with COVID. So I will watch some videos and see some people eat spicy stuff here and there. And the one that really inspired me, and I usually don't say, like, people usually inspire me because I usually don't watch and, like, view on specific people, even though I do like to watch my fellow chili heads. The one that really stuck out to me was when Atomic Menace, Dustin, when he did 13 tubes of terror. That just completely wowed me, and I'm like, hey, well, I like that. I could probably get into some of that. So what happened was, I just got off spring break this year, and spring break 2 years ago, we were on a little family trip, and we found some places where we were that were selling, like, jerky and spicy stuff and other hot stuff. Well, I walked into this one store, and I picked up, I think the very first buy was, I think I got a Toa Satan, Peanut Brutal Challenge, Death Nut 2.0, and a Tube of Terror.
And I was scared for you.
So I got all those, and I'm like, well, I can give them a shot and see how I do. So the night I picked them up, I think I did the Toa Satan, and it's sucking on it for 5 minutes, and I did it. Got heated up pretty well, but I mean, it was not unbearable. So I took the thing home, and that's when the show started, exactly 2 years ago, when I first started with the Insane Peanut Brutal Challenge. which is the League of Fire challenge. They don't make it anymore. And this one's actually live. It's in there. Somebody gifted me this for Christmas this year because I knew it was my first challenge, and I have that sentimental. Although being so old and discontinued, it looks pretty chewy. So I think when I get to this, it's going to actually be a challenge within a challenge in a way. To chew through this and handle the heat is going to be a challenge, but we'll go for it eventually. So that was my first challenge, and then just all the things that have happened since I've been in the community. When I was first in there, I had a fire just to go through and try all these different challenges. And when I first started, I didn't even know there was a Chili Head community. I first started recording just because I thought it would be cool to get in a League of Fire with a few challenges or whatever. Just, it would be cool. So I found out I had to have a YouTube channel or upload through YouTube. So I started a YouTube channel.
And I was really hesitant. I was like, I don't know.
And everybody kind of jumped on board. And then my kids are like, hey, let's like try some other stuff on the channel. I'm like, okay, that sounds cool, because I like to just try and review stuff. So my channel has been based on, over the years, going through challenges and just trying product reviews, because my channel is not just for chili heads, it's for the average person who wants to get involved with spice. And as people may or may not know, my profession, which I haven't really talked about, and I'm not going to get real specific about it, but I'm a teacher. Some of you may have known that, some of you may have not known, but I'm a teacher, a full-time teacher.
Kids look up to you.
Kids look up to me. We keep it family friendly. I work 8 hours a week, which sometimes gets crazy with the
8 hours a week.
Or no, 40 hours a week, 8 hours a day job. And then I coach sports too. So when I'm in the coaching season, which I'm going to start shortly again in the spring here.
Plus, also outside of school, teachers really never rest.
Yeah, it's
We're
like
always doing something.
I put in like 10-hour days, and sometimes to get some of these crazy challenges in gets pretty crazy, because you want to manage your cap cramps appropriately, and the last thing you want to do is going to school the next day with a sleepless night, or like still burning pretty bad, which has happened a few times before.
Yeah.
Quite a few probably over the 2 years. But anyways, that's what I do. I'm a teacher and a coach. I've done other things before over the course of my career too. But I want to be encouragement, and that's what I've tried to be in the Chili Head community. I've met a lot of friends along the way. Sorry, camera person, I know you're struggling bad. I'm going to try and
I picked
get
up
through
something.
quick.
I picked something up.
So the first year I really flew through challenges. I was doing pretty good, enjoying it. I really had a fire to try and get through all the challenges, which I mostly got through most of them. The only one that I think I haven't got my hands on is the version 2, I think, Chug Challenge. Is it 2 or 3? I think 2. But everything else, year 2, not quite as into it. We still have fun. We still have a good time and that. And a couple sad things about the Chili Head community is I've met a lot of friends along the way. And like from my first video and first year, a lot of those Chili Heads or friends that I made have like just kind of disappeared off the map, like gone, like retired from the Chili Head community, or just I haven't been able to get in touch of, and some people less, and then I meet new friends along the way too, and new people, and 2 years is kind of long. Some people have been in it longer than me, but the longevity of a Chili Head, from what I've noticed, is about a year before semi-retirement or like retirement. There's some people that have really gone on longer. And one thing I don't say enough, but I said the first year, is I just want to thank everybody too, for a few reasons. I want to thank people for being friends and supportive to the channel. I want to thank suppliers for some freebies and being supportive, all the Chili Head community friends for being supportive. I want to thank my local community, and people for being supportive there too. And there's so many people, I'm not going to name individuals because, you know, when you start naming individuals, you forget somebody and feelings get hurt. But you guys know who you are, and free products. I know I've been talking about cutting back or retirement or whatever a few times, and people have been so generous. I've had tons of products to review that have either come from freebies from people or company, donations, gifts, homemade products, all kinds of things. So I thank you, and you know who you are. If you've ever sent me or given me anything, I really appreciate that too. And then the other thing that kind of makes me sad sometimes about the chili head community is just the rifts and arguments and disagreements, and that's torn some people apart for all kinds of different various reasons. And I try not to get involved in any of that. Just try and stay friendly and positive toward everybody and be encouraging to everybody. And then I do mostly want to thank my family for putting up with the lunacy. My camera person who's looking at me now like, oh, when is this going to be done probably? And my kids who have to deal with the craziness too sometimes. And sometimes I have to deal with a little bit of their craziness. Like, hey, Dad, let's do a video. And that's like, what do you want to do? And then I let them pick. So sometimes, a lot of times recently, it's been their pick. So...
Or... me having to just explain in the teacher's lounge why my husband was dressed up like a grandma for one of the videos.
Well,
that was the topic of conversation. That was the topic of conversation today at my lunch period. I'm like, yeah, I had to go into full explanation there and be like, yeah, Brad. And then somebody's like, I thought Brad lost his mind for a little while. I'm like, well, he probably did.
It's true. I do lose my mind quite frequently.
They thought it was funny, but one of the teachers thought it was a little creepy too. Grandma was a little creepy.
A little bit, I have to admit. A little bit. So anyway, so that's just kind of where I'm at. I like to have fun. Oh yeah, I wanted to say one thing too. I would go back to this channel not only for the chili head, but the average person. So I give ratings. And sometimes people agree with my ratings and sometimes people don't. But going back mentally, and I can kind of gauge it, I give ratings on a lot of products. What it would be for the average person from 0 to 10. And the 0 to 10 scale, in case you don't know, 0 would be like no heat at all. 10 would be pretty much unbearable for the average person. And some of the chili head products get like that, where it's like, oh no, I can't do a panic mode kind of thing. So I try to be... just thinking back to it as clear as possible. Like when I say, okay, this average snack is like a 5 for an average person, like what their heat scale would probably be. And I can manage that probably pretty good. And then I give the chili head scale, and that's like on average. And that's kind of hit or miss depending on like my tolerance at the time. 0 would be like average snack, like no real heat for a chili head. 10 would be like almost to the point where it's unbearable for a chili head, which there's very few products that would put most people at that point, or stunts or whatever you'd call it. So a lot of things I find like usually like 3 or 4-ish, like a lot of them, but sometimes people disagree with that. But that's just where I say probably the average chili head. And some chili heads that have a really, really good tolerance might say, oh, it's only a 1 or 2, where I might say average would probably be like a 3 or 4, or some getting into chili heads might say, oh, that's a 5 or a 6. But I just try and say about what an average chili head would probably put the heat value at. So really quick, going forward on the show, I've been mulling this over a lot. And I said, once a chili head, always a chili head. That's never going to be taken away from me. But I was considering retirement or not retirement, or retirement or not retirement. And the only reason I'm doing this is it's not because I don't like it anymore. I sometimes feel it's not as fun anymore. And that's why you can tell in the recent videos I've been trying to get back to more like fun, free-spirited kind of stuff. But the main reason why is the last year or so, we've really been struggling financially with medical, dental, vision, appliances breaking down, and just kind of getting behind financially. And
now car.
And yeah, speaking of that, one of our cars broke down this morning too. So just one thing after another. So I can no longer at this point justify spending like tons of money on challenges anymore. So I cannot effectively be that competitive. Like some people I see knocking off like multiples, like 5, 10, 15 things at a time.
You just can't afford it.
And like things have gone up with inflation. When I first started, the average challenge was maybe like $10 to $12. So it's manageable to get a few. Now I notice challenges, the average ones are, I mean, chocolate bars, those are like 25, 30. The average ones are like 15 to 20. So if you want to get like 10 of a challenge, you're talking like $150 to $200, and I can't swing that. And going to these Chili Head events, like spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, I can't swing that. If I had enough money, I'd like to, pay off debts, fix things I have, go places, vacations with my family and stuff like that. And if you if you're doing that, I'm not knocking you at all. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm saying you go for it. That's what I used to do too. I used to be able to knock off multiples and stuff, but I just can't afford it. I can't be competitive. I still want to buy the new products and do it. And I used to have tons more stuff. I used to have like my wife can attest to this. I used to have like 3 boxes like this big and a whole box full of tinctures. And this is all I have left right now, is about half a box. And a lot of stuff here has been just gifted or given to me since like Christmas. So like I haven't even been buying a lot of stuff myself. So anybody who's donated or freebie to me, I really, really appreciate that. And I'm not expecting anything from anybody or any handouts. I've never taken money from anybody on the show. I have taken gifts and freebies and stuff. So what I'm claiming right now is not retirement. I couldn't bring myself to totally do it. I'm claiming semi-retirement, which I've seen some chili heads do, which is just really cut back, and it might not happen right away. I'm just kind of going to gradually go through stuff, and when I start to run out of things, I'll grab maybe a new challenge here or there, pick up stuff if I find in the store. But at some point when my stash gets depleted, it's going to slow down, and it's going to be like a semi-retirement. And I still love it. Like I said, once a chili head, always a chili head. I will always be into hot and spicy stuff as I was going back to when I was a kid. And that's just kind of where we're at the 2-year anniversary. So I'm not going to completely be gone. Don't completely ditch me unless you feel the need to for whatever reason or the other. But stick with me, and I'll be coming out with videos as such or when I can. And
I would still like to see you try to reach 1,000 so that you can eat those bugs.
Well, I don't want to forget that. So that was my goal. As I was going up the charts, I always had goals like 100, 100, 100. There's always been 3 things I've been striving for. Videos, subscribers, and I was doing League of Fire points too. So I got to 100. That was the big thing. 100 subscribers, 100 League of Fire points, 100, what was it? Videos. So that was my first goal, and then it was 500, and now my last goal, and I think my career goal in it would be like 1,000, 1,000, 1,000. And if I was going as crazy, I'd say I did the first 2 years, because I'm at 670, I think, or 80 videos, and that's in 2 years. So at that rate, and like 700 some subscribers, at that rate, if I went like crazy like I had been going for another year, I might be able to reach all those. But cutting back now, just eventually, I think it'd be cool to reach that, because that's what my initial goal was. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see. Obviously, subscribers depends on your support out there. Videos is my work ethic at it, and then just points is me doing a challenge here or there, and that's, like I said, multiples is really just, and it's not because I physically can do it anymore. I had some stomach issues back in the fall, but I'm pretty much recovered from that. I can't financially bring myself to buy like 10 of a challenge anymore, or 15 of challenges at a time and do it. It's going to be just one here or there, like new stuff I'll want to get. And I have a few in here and I'll be doing those. So that's kind of where we're at here on the Mr. Brad Worden Show. And I hope you've enjoyed the first 2 years, whether you've been with me a long time or new to the show. And I'll definitely be sticking with some of you guys as chili heads and continuing to watch your content too. So this has been 2 years here with Mr. Brad Worden. I hope you've enjoyed, and we'll keep plugging away, just not at probably the same rate as we always have been. All right, we'll see you next time on the Mr. Brad Worden Show.